parades and anything that we did, Bob was always there, donating drinks and whatever we needed. When we asked him to come speak, I didn't expect him to say no, and he didn't. He never says no.
That's not true.
He never says no, and he always finds a way to make it work. So, let's get on with it.
Okay.
Okay, Bob. And I also wanted to thank his entire family for showing up, and extended family, IT department.
And as a matter of
Somebody
fact,
like
with my
that.
family, raise your hand. If we take the honor here, I am so blessed to have all my family here to make fun of me after this is over. I'm sure they'll be along. So, and some of you I've had a chance to see, and it's just overwhelmed that you were able to make this this time. And I just want to preface everything I say here, but we will all be home in time for kickoff. So don't worry, I'm not going to talk all day. This is going to be a thing. So good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. Yes, I was approached by Corinne to want to know how I would be interested in doing this, and I did say no the first time. But Corinne and all of you who do, that didn't work. And so here I am, and so I'm ecstatic about having the chance to share my family, a little bit of my family's history here in Alpine. Hope you enjoy it. Great slides and it's a little bit of videos from the 50s, and so it's gonna be fun. And my wife keeps telling me to read my notes because I'll forget things. So I also want to add the fact, and as you can see the picture of the Tattered Tidbits, Tom and Judy Myers wrote this article. They asked me what I'd like to say, and I had no idea. So I gave them a little bit of things about it, and the three-ring circus really fits, doesn't it? Yes, my family shakes our head. It was a great article and a fantastic honor to have my family on the program on that thing. So I'm going to do this as a three-ring circus. Basically, we have clowns coming in. No, what we're going to do is I've divided it, the three rings being Virgil and Louise ring on your left there, and then Bob and Bev ring, and my beautiful wife Carmen and I will wrap it up as the last part of our history here, or ongoing history now in Alpine. So I did good. I could skip all around here. Also, of all the pictures that you're going to see, most all of them, my grandparents on my mom's side, Harry and Jean Davis, he loved his 8mm camera. He ran all over the place when we were little tiny kids and took pictures of us all the time. Came up here, shot a lot of things in Alpine, had pictures and copies. So most of that because my mom and dad's records and everything else, they lost in the 2003 Cedar Fire when they lost their home. So I'm so thankful that I had 7 large Rubbermaid containers from my Grandma Davis that have all of these, most all of them, pictures. That also have cousins in Arizona, cousins in Idaho that sent me pictures. So a lot of the things that you're going to see during this presentation, that's where I was able to get them. So it was really, really special. And a very special thank you to amazing daughter, Susan, who does an amazing job up at this point. Got presentation together, and Johnny, who helped, I said Johnny back there, wherever you are, right. I edited the video, all those little 8mm videos to put it on here, so thank you so much for that. And again, I focused on my time and our family's time in Alpine. Of course, there's so much things that happened outside of that I tried to narrow it down to where it started, where we all started. So, with that, let's do it. Next one. Here's where it started. In 1923, Virgil and Louise Ring. Virgil was born in 1899 in Jasper, Missouri, and Ida Louise Kinkle, born in Pittsburgh, Kansas in 1905. This picture is from the book, Alpine History Settlement by B. LaForest. And you know what the great thing is? You all can grab and buy one of these on your way out. Be supporting, not only we have a picture of my family, but you'll have a picture of the best secrets in Alpine, plus the best, and along with Carlette's book, Anderson's book, Alpine, both of them, really good, excellent. Make sure you grab your copy on your way out. So anyway, Mountain Settlement on page 365, okay. Virgil and Louise were married in 1922 and moved to Alpine in 1923. Louise Rain was under the care of Dr. Lischner of the Alpine Sanatorium. And here's a great picture of 1920 of the Alpine Sanatorium. Louise had tuberculosis, in one of her lungs. Dr. Lischner was one of the first to perform a pneumothorax procedure, which they took a needle, inserted it into her lung, and deflated the bad lung. No wonder she spanked me a lot, because that must have hurt. All right. And the sanatorium was located on Alpine Boulevard and Tavern Road, which I know you can't see it, but it was more, Darnell Lake. It's close on the end. There's the parsonage, is that two-story house that you see now. Just south of that is where the sanatorium was. So and of course Louise moved to Alpine for the clean air. For those of you who remember, Alpine was famous, and then you'll see for the beautiful clean air. People came from everywhere to come up here. And as you're going to see from the story, you're going to see that my grandmother came for the clean air, and so did my mom. Dr. Lischner recommended that Virgil and Louise, and my Aunt Norma was born then in 1923, move into a large white two-story house on the sanatorium property, and gave Virgil a job on the property, and it's located on Tavern and Arbor Way. On the second day of in their house, Virgil noticed smoke pouring from the roof, ran in to get Louise and baby Norma. They lost everything in the fire as it completely burned to the ground. They moved to a small house near Florence Market, which now is the white brick building, the Alpine Liquor. There was a building behind it, from what I understand. Okay. During the many years in Alpine, Virgil worked for several jobs. The most interesting, which was the ranch foreman and the driver for William Dalton. William Dalton was an actor. Until the mid-1800s, women were not allowed to have parts in the theater. At first, Mr. Dalton refused to play female roles, but when he needed money, he started taking those roles. He was so good at it, he became incredibly famous. He took the stage name of Julian L. Inch. At the height of his career, he was making over $250,000 a year. And think about that in the 20s. And then, there's a picture of William Dalton on the left, and then his stage presence on the right. Not bad. There's not too fond of the one on the left, but the one on the right's good. That was how he made all this incredible money. Okay, next. There's a picture of the ranch during Bill Dalton's time. And again, like I said, my grandfather was the ranch foreman and lived on the ranch. And he also worked very hard on the ranch. There's a shot of my grandpa Virgil pushing the plow. And there's the horse-drawn plow that he was plowing the ranch fields during that time. Also, if you go down South Grade Road right now, you'll see those rock walls. All of those were built by my grandfather. And they're still there today. And that's South Grade, the curve, just as you go in there, the housing on the other side. Virgil and Louise had 3 children. Norma was born in 1923. Robert was born in 1928. And Florence, which a lot of you who know the family for some years, her name went by the nickname Dolly Place, was born in 1931. The family lived on the Windmill Ranch for some time. Now the Ring children all attended Alpine schools through the 8th grade, which seems to be the school still going on today. As we all know, the high school didn't get there, but that was, and even back then they had the schools, and these are a lot of the Ring photos that they had. Okay. The one on the left is my Aunt Norma's class. She's the 3rd one from the left, coming towards the right on the second middle row. That was Aunt Norma. And then the class, the whole school for me was there. And then my dad, in the 8th grade, he's on the front row there. And then, of course, there's an individual picture of Bob Ring in the school. Now, some of the exciting times were when a lot of you I'm sure have heard about the plane crash. The plane that flew into the school. So it was on August 20th, 1953. I can see some of it.
Yes.
All right, and then those were the photos taken at the newspaper person showed. But his photos on the right were my grandfather was there not too much after it hit, and he went up and took these pictures on the right. So there's the plane sitting inside the classroom, and in the museum we have seats right from that classroom.
Yes.
So if you want to go back, get a chance to see some of those seats, they're there. And there's a photo at the bottom there. They get the plane upside down, and so you can see the front wheel. There's the wings of the type on the left there, and then of course there's the side when it slid right into on the right. Okay. Virgil Louise also owned Circus, a couple of service stations here, and they owned one in the Willows, which is the first subdivision, I guess, of Alpine. And this was taken. Not quite sure the year, but I took a picture of this. It was out of the Beagle Force book of the Union 76. I believe they told me it was a shell. Then I was talking to Frank Ball here, who was a good friend of my dad's. He was telling me that it might be a mobile or something. So, well, anyway, he had a service station in the Willows. So that was something, okay? Later, Virgil Louise owned the Flying A station located on Alpine Boulevard, across from where the Alpine Elementary School would be built. He owned that from the 40s to the early 60s. And that's my grandmother, Louise, in between the pumps there. And then in the distance, you can see that lovely little lady, that's my mom, who happened to be on a walk. And she went on her walks when she moved to Alpine in 1948. And she would stop and get a soda on her walks. And they happened to snap that picture. They had all 3 Ring children met their spouses at that service station. Service station of love, I guess. I can't believe it. Norma Ring, the oldest, met Larry Swain. And of course, Larry Swain, Larry drove a truck, a heavy-duty truck, from El Cajon this way, and so it was off the station. Okay. And Bob and Beverly, you saw my mom. So here's Dad, and then they were, he worked on cars there. I remember as a little boy going across from the elementary school to the station to get soda, and they had those water-cooled Coke machines, and it was a nickel for a glass of soda, and you had to, if the water was circulating all the time, and I get a nickel, and you had to run the bottle along the track to get the bottle out. And that was my only memory of that station. But Dad worked there quite a bit, along with that all the way through that time. And then Dolly, who was born with Dolly, married Richard Place. Richard drove a hay truck from the Imperial Valley and brought hay here to Alpine and surrounding areas. Okay. Virgil and Louise built 2 homes on Green Acres and Tavern Road, which I just had the incredible chance to meet this lovely lady who lives in that house now. So, unbelievable. So, yeah, and you're gonna see pictures of the house many years ago. But anyway, they built their first 2 homes there, and that's where I was lived at first. Okay. Now here's the pictures inside that house. These are family shots. Christmas, of course. Up in the upper left is Virgil and Louise. Down in the lower right, on the bottom there is Bob and Bev. And then, of course, everybody's mixed in there around the cousins and everything. And my little sister Jeannie's right there in the front of the 3 boys right there, who's sitting right there. So that was shots of that. Okay. And in 1958, the family, we did a lot of things I remember growing up as a family. All my cousins and my aunts and everybody, well, they got a piece of property in Ocotillo. So they decided they were going to build a cabin. And a 1-room cabin in Ocotillo in 1958. And it had a potbelly stove in the middle, a stainless steel sink on one wall, and an outhouse. And the rest of it was all just where we lay sleeping bags down. We go down for the weekend and hunt petrified wood. That was plentiful back then, and that was my grandparents' big thing, was to make dragons out there in the desert and have us clip the rocks together until we could find the petrified sound of the petrified wood. Okay. Here's a great video of this whole project. That's my Uncle Richard. There's my dad, Bob, and there is Virgil right there with the good old cigarette hanging out. And we're pouring the footage of the walls, built rock walls. He was still building rock walls then. After all those years, taught my dad to build them, taught me to build them. There's Richard Place again.
Is that dad with khaki?
Yep, yeah, khakis, throwing the concrete into the mixer. I didn't know that. He probably was saying something really colorful right there. There's Bob, my dad, was throwing the cement in there. Some of the camera shots you can see, there's very few. Now there's my grandpa Davis, who did all of this recording for us. Must be my grandmother had the camera in her hand. Yep, there's grandma there on the left. Okay. Now, I have some stories. I have some stories that I said that very well. You hear me a little better. That I remember growing up with my grandparents. My cousins told me. I have a lot of stories that I could not put on here. But it was so much fun. My grandfather was Virgil was more of a dry sense of humor. He'd laugh. He's very quiet, and he had a very long, just laughed. He laughed at everything. I think it was with grandkids. Maybe he didn't. I know it was with my grandchildren. I'm laughing all the time. And the parents get my kid to get mad because I'm laughing. That's what grandparents are supposed to do. We're supposed to laugh at what they do and not get upset. So he laughed all the time. Now my grandmother, on the other hand, that was a little different story. She was a wonderful woman, but I still hurt when I said it. So back with it. This is kind of a sad story, but part of the family history. Back in the 30s, Virgil owned a 1930s dump truck. Now, this is not the original dump truck that he had. He had, I'm not sure exactly what, couldn't find any pictures of it, but it was in the 30s, and it was a dump, and it had a bobtail. So, Frank, you probably would know which truck that was, but I couldn't, it's the only one I could find off the internet to kind of give you an idea of what kind of a truck it was. And he would haul sand and dirt for the residents of Alpine. And he, of course, loaded everything by hand. And so one time, Alpine resident approached him and asked if he could rent the truck. And apparently, at that time, he said, okay, go ahead. So they rented the truck, then took off, went onto his property, left, and later in the day, he didn't return. So couldn't figure out why, what happened. So he got in his car, went down to the property where the truck, he found the truck sitting there. And he walked up, and of course this was really sad. The gentleman that rented the truck somehow had misoperated the bed, and we found it crushed under the bed and in between the frame. So, Frank, you're looking at me like, okay, how did that happen? I don't know. Frank works at the truck museum out in Campo, so he would know exactly what how the operation was of those things. But that was something, and so they, of course, they checked everything out. Of course, the truck was working fine. It was operator error, and very sad time. So now comes the fun stuff. I was around 6, and my cousin was around 8 when we were at the house, and on the property there was a pump house. I don't know if that's still there, but the pump house and a well. And in the pump house, my cousin and I would run around, play, have a great time. Piece of dynamite. So we decided that we were going to do something with that dynamite. So no, we didn't like it. I'm thinking I wouldn't be standing here if I would be doing that. So what we did is we took the dynamite, put it in our wagon, and in the creek behind the house, they had dammed that thing up, and it was a big pond. So we took the case of dynamite, put it in our wagon, pulled it all the way across the rocks and the dirt, all the way over to the side, and then we proceeded to take the dynamite and pretend we were arming it, throwing it into the water. So we threw the whole case of dynamite into the pond. Well, a two-story house, right? Still, up above, in the window was my aunt and my mom, seeing us do this with these sticks of dynamite. So they immediately came down, was not happy with us at all, and began and I know it's a generational thing. So my grandchildren over here, you're lucky you don't get whipped like we did. But spanked, we came out, and that was the first instance, was a spank. Then they took us in the house, and they put us in a room, and they put us on our knees, and they told us to pray to the Lord that nobody would be blown up when they came and cleaned the dynamite out of that pond. So that was one little story, and my grandmother was there, so she saw that. Let's see. Also, okay, cousin Gary had a donkey, lived, and on the property back on the backside there was a big field, and he kept George, his donkey, there. Well, Dan and I, we're really good kids. I just want to preface this: we're good kids. Okay, I keep telling you. Okay, so we decided, you know what we're going to do? We're going to tease the donkey until he chases us. And George was not a really fast donkey, so it's a 2x4. And usually, you whack him on the back with a 2x4, and he would run you down. So we decided we're going to do the deal, and one of us hit the donkey with a 2x4, and we took off running. So as we were going up through the field there, I saw him run up a tree. And I ran up a bank, and I slowed down because I thought, oh, he must have turned around and went the other direction. Next thing I know, there's this incredible pain coming from my back where the donkey had bit completely through my shirt, perfect mouth prints, broke the skin, teeth prints in my skin on my back, picked me up and put me on and threw me on the ground. So my cousin saw me screaming. He jumped out of the tree, grabbed me, took me into the house. There was blood all over my back, and my grandmother came out, and my grandpa was sitting in the swing. Of course, laughed. He laughed so hard. I thought he was going to. I could just see him over this laughing. Well, Grandma came out and saw it, and she lost her mind. And she was yelling at him and yelling at us. And I got another spanking, and so it was a fun time had by grandma. The rest of us, we weren't too excited about the outcome of that. But I did not tease George anymore after that. Left George alone. So one time when I was a little bit older, as you saw, Virgil had cigarettes, so always smoking a cigarette, smoked cigarettes most of his whole life. Had a lot of health issues later in life. So he was going to teach his grandsons the fact that you shouldn't smoke. So he took us down in his tool shop, and there was all four of us, and he, back in the 60s, I would imagine, he had a block of tobacco. The tobacco came in a brick. So he took his knife and he cut off a piece, 4 pieces. He puts this in your mouth. Okay, so we all put it in the mouth. He said, now chew it. So we all sat there and we chewed it, and it just running, you know how disgusting it is. So then he said, now swallow it. Okay, so again, I was a nice kid. So I swallowed this stuff, and of course we all got sick. And he said, this is why I don't want you to smoke. See how bad that is? See how rough that is? See how bad it makes you feel? You have no idea the health problems. So none of you guys better smoke. Of course, we all agreed. And to this day, only one of my cousins started smoking for a while. The rest of all 3 of those, we never touched it. Never touched it. So the next story, I think, is kind of again, I'm a good kid. I was about 14, and they had a 1960, I'm crazy about cars, those of you who already know that. 1960 Dodge Phoenix, green and white, 318, 3-speed automatic push button. That's probably more than you need to know. But I got it to let me drive it. So I got to the driver's seat. Grandpa sat on the right side. Grandma, she got in the back seat. So we were going to go on a drive, come out of Green Acres there, turn left on Tavern, turn right on South Green Road, went down South Green Road, and there's a spot that was a big of a straightaway before you went that real tight turn. I'm sure all of those of you who drive that to Harvest Canyon know exactly where I'm at. There was very few homes there. But we're going down the road, and here comes a whole bunch of ducks across the road. I apologize now for those who love ducks. But there's a few less ducks. So Grandma leaned over and said, get them. So Grandma didn't quite catch that. So I jumped on it, and man, we hit those ducks. Feathers flying. He's laughing so hard. So then I realized, I hear this horrible scream. Of course, it's my grandmother, because just as I got to the ducks. Well, good, see? That's something you do, wouldn't it? So he was having just an absolute, Grandma's having her usual fit, and so she's just beating Grandpa's head. She just slapped me, I was driving. So she's yelling at me to pull over. So finally I got the car stopped. She yanked me out of that driver's seat, threw me into the back seat, paddling me on the way, threw me in the back seat. And I was 14 and I didn't touch their cars until I had my license. 16. So I learned a good lesson that you don't run over ducks. And Grandpa laughed. Every time we talked, he would just laugh. So I was serious. Okay, so those are a few stories that I remember as a child up here in Alpine. Okay. Virgil Louise had a 49th anniversary, and most people, of course, would celebrate their 50th, being so close. But my grandfather's health was pretty bad. And so I think in his heart, he knew that he might not be able to celebrate his 50th. He might not be here. So he got the family together, and he bought my grandma a beautiful diamond, and we had a celebration on their 49th anniversary. And that was in June, I believe, and at that December, he passed away, December 17th, 1973. So that was it. So there's some more pictures of, and there's a great shot of him. both on their 49th anniversary. So he's laughing right there, I must have done something. And there's the family. There's my mom and dad and myself and my 3 sisters. The little Julianne is in the front, who's sitting right here, just a hair older now.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was, and then the ones on the right, that was my grandfather's 3 sisters. Came up from Kansas, and I think one lived in National City. I'm not quite sure. The upper left was the Swains, and the lower right was the 3 Ring kids, and grandma and grandpa. And Louise was here, lived here, I think, to about 72. They sold that house, and they bought a mobile home in Santee, and she was quite the crochet master. And as you can see, she had those 2 doilies that she made. First place, Del Mar Fair. And she just loved to crochet. And those were amazing, amazing pieces on that. And then when Dolly and Richard moved to Idaho to join my cousins up there, Grandma went along with them to Idaho. And then here they are up in Idaho on a visit. And I don't know what the jail bars are for. I haven't figured that one out yet. But maybe it was on a sightseeing tour. I know they had her in a little place, but it wasn't that. So I visited her, so I know that's not true. But there on the left here is my dad, Bob, with Louise. So yeah, it was great. Okay. Now Richard Lawman is also in the book, right? That you can buy on your way out, yes. The book was a long time out. He worked at the post office over 20 years. He was the rural route carrier for all the outlying areas. And his car was a 39 Chevy sedan. And he kept that car as his route car his whole entire career. I wish I had got it. But that was his car. And he was, like I said, he was in that. And then also the slots in the back. You know the mail slots where they divide letters? A section of that is in the museum right now. So you can get up and run right over, buy your book, and go get the museum. Go to the museum, and you've got a beautiful section of that mail carrier section. Slots right there. Okay. Now we're going to go to Circus 2. Circus 1 was Virgil and Louise. Circus Ring, Circus 2, of course, will be Mom and Dad. Okay? I gotta get the right page here. Okay, Robert was born August 25th, 1928. Lived in Alpine until May of 1959. Attended Alpine schools through the 8th grade. Attended Roosevelt High School, and there's his graduation picture. He had hair. Which, for those of you who knew my father, he lost his hair at 20 years of age. And I thought that for sure was going to happen to me, but thank God I still have a little bit.
Didn't help the grandson.
No. It skipped me and went to him. So it's good. So as we look over the head of hair, I look at that and marvel. I go, man, I never saw it. I'm never going to see that first. Okay. And of course, some of the jobs that Dad had were in the bottom right, bottom left, I should say, the Wilson's Market. At 12 years old, he was an ice boy. And he hauled ice in and out of the back for the customers and also delivered ice. In the middle, of course, there's, again, the pictures of the Flying A Station. He spent a lot of time there working and did a lot of things at the station. Okay. And he joined the National Guard in 1948, right out of high school. And we're very fortunate to have this tile put on the wall of honor down there at the community center. And there's a picture of him sitting in that chair, testing some equipment back there. And I can't make out the date on it, but 51. Okay, so in 1951. And here's a great picture of my mother and Henny in a house in Alpine in A little bit later, he was, rose to the rank of Chief Warrant Officer before he stepped out of the National Guard. Okay, and this was really good. Those of you might remember the Empire Market. It was right there where the barbecue place is now, right across the street. And you can see you can look the trees on the point here in the corner. And then they were putting in the water lines, the big water mains came to town. And there's a shot of the Empire Market there, and there's a 56 Nomad that I used to have, like I used to have. Anyway, the Empire Market, and my dad was the store manager for that. So I look back and I wonder, is that how I got into being a store manager? But he was store manager during that time also. Okay. 1955, he joined the Sheriff's Department. And he is standing direct center in the back row. And he absolutely loved that job. And he was very good at it, as you can see. Okay. Then the lovely Beverly Ann Jones, my mom. Met her in Beverly Jones was born in October 3rd, 1930. Came to Alpine in 1948 because of the clean air. She had severe asthma. Beverly lived in the Taffy's Motel, right up the street. And she lived there with my great-grandmother, her grandmother, Winifred Miller. And there is Catherine Black. She told me stories about her and the Taffy's Motel. And of course, there's a sign that caught fire apparently at one time. And right across the street was Dinosaur Park. I don't know if that was still going at that period of time or not. But that was where, how she came to Alpine, was for the air. It's amazing that both Louise and Beverly came to Alpine for the reason of breathing. How clean the air was. There it is. Welcome to Alpine, best climate in the USA. And I tell you what, my family wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that. Because both of them came to this for that reason. Okay. Robert and Beverly were married August 5th, 1950. There's a good shot of the paper. And of course, there they are at a church in La Mesa. Here's a good shot of my grandfather, Harry Davis, walking her down the aisle. And then of course, they're sharing the cake on both sides. They look good. And there's a great family shot. Harry and Jean Davis on the left, and of course Virgil and Louise on the right. And that was a great picture of him. Look how skinny my dad is. Yeah, I mean he was so. Wait, you'll see. Next picture. There's the honeymoon, and Big Bear. Big Bear was of my family's retreat all through the years. My grandparents went there. My grandparents on my Harry G. Davis went there all the time, and Mom and Dad loved Big Bear. Went there and spent every August, September there every year. And of course, you can see the tall, skinny dude on the right there. That's Dad. He'd always eat twice his weight and never gained a pound. And my mom, of course, walking down the stairs there. That was from their honeymoon. Okay. Now here's the family. This is back in the 70s? I think? 75. All right.
It's their 25th wedding.
I couldn't find older pictures because Julianne and Linda were born in Crest. And the two young ones, and then Jeannie and myself were the other ones here in Alpine. So there's a shot of us all together. I had gray hair.
Jeannie's pregnant.
Is she?
Yeah.
Wow. All right, there you go. Okay. Okay. Next. Here's a shot back in Alpine of Jeannie and myself. And their cousins at the family at Grandpa's and Grandma's for Christmas. My dad learned the Lord, and we had those great Charlie Brown trees.
Lots of tinsel.
Everybody believed in tinsel, yes, they sure did. Okay. Now you get a chance to see us in action.
Yep, your first car.
Oh, yeah, that's on the property.
Fifth grade.
Right there, yeah. Yeah. Rock walls, of course, built by you. And there's Jeannie. I know you're excited to see this one.
I still walk the same.
And there's Mom with the both of us.
I do the same thing with my
Yeah,
kids.
and there's my grandmother and her mom right there. 353 Chevy, 4-door. You know. And this Harry was behind the camera at the time. There's Grandpa Harry with us. The man never wore a shirt. I don't understand why. Jeannie's on a hike.
Running away from you.
Yep, and then here's a good shot of, see, no hair. And there's Harry and Jean Davis. Always, and Harry was a lot of fun. Both of them were amazing. Amazing fun. Now this is my favorite. Dad being the sheriff, the good sheriff that he was, broke up a fight. And how many of us guys wish we could handcuff our mother-in-law and our wife at the same time? And it was great to march him off to jail. And look at the smile on his face. Here he was getting ready for a call. And of course,
You're trying to kill me.
I was trying to push Jeannie off the cliff or whatever. Oh, there's another 54 Chevy, 53. And didn't have a chance to do that. They stopped us. Okay. Now, in 1958, I believe is what this is. See, you're going to see, and watch closely. Tavern Road coming out of Green Acres. Tavern Road down to Arnold Way, and then Arnold Way through town, and then they stopped for whatever reason. Didn't film going up West Victoria Drive, right here. They went Victoria Drive to, and I found it this morning, Homeward Drive. If any of you know where that is, it's a little road that turns off to the right, and that's what this is what they bought a lot, and they were going to build a house. So there's Tavern Road in 1958. And there's Arnold Way, Eagles Lumber on the left, and then there's the gas station there, and then all the beautiful view of the streets. Now they're going down Homeward Way, and as you look at the view, nothing there. None of the homes. I drove up there today, and there's just homes everywhere. This is the lot that they had purchased, and they were going to build a house, and that's where we were going to be. There we are. Our great grandmothers came up to join in looking at the lot. Hand dug the well. I remember going down to the well. They put me in a bucket, lower me to the bottom of the well, and I would shovel dirt into the bucket, and my mom would run the crank and bring all the dirt up and down. There's my grandfather there, and again, he smoked too. He didn't make me eat tobacco. That was nice. I don't know what dog that was, but okay. So Robert Dad was very successful in the sheriff's department. Homicide detective from 1960 to 1975. Officer of the Year. On the left is Governor Duke Pinchian, awarding him this plaque in the honor of Officer of the Year. And on the right is my little sister Julie helped get this thing together, honoring Dad with his patrol gun, his gun he used to patrol, and his badge as a detective, as a DA investigator, and of course as a deputy. So that's still at my mom's house right now. Dad has lots of hobbies, but the biggest, these were his two favorites. Fishing on the right, and driving the truck, the old Ford truck and the trailer, wherever he possibly could. And he absolutely loved it. He had a fun side. I don't know if it's because he grew up on the old Tinge Ranch or the Dalton Ranch or what. He one Halloween we were all shocked. I had never seen him ever, but he decided he was going to dress up.
All the stories he's told me, he never told me about that one.
No, I know, and there's a reason why. He didn't want to lose his cred with you at all. I couldn't believe when I found that picture. I said, oh, I gotta include this. Those of you who knew him, that was the farthest thing from you could imagine.
Must have been undercover.
Yeah, he might be going undercover that day. Okay. Now, this, one of his favorite spots in Alpine. As a kid and growing up, and a lot of you will know exactly where this is, it's the waterfalls on the Easter Road. So if you go down east, go Tavern all the way where it breaks off to go up to a valley or down to the east towards Saquon, there's two falls. And he would tell us stories all the time about him and coming down these falls and coming down here every time it rained and all of this. So when I came back to Alpine in 2006, I would take him every time it rained enough. Whatever that is, we don't see that, but and where the falls would run. So this last one is the last one I was able to get for him. Yes, I was up there, really raining. So it was running really good. That was one of his favorite spots. Okay. Now this was another special time in Dad's life. He absolutely was a fanatic for flying as far as the P-51 Mustang. We found him a ride-along in a real P-51 Mustang from a gentleman in Ramona. We put him in the back, had a little seat in the back. He was back inside that plane. He went up for a 30-minute ride all over Ramona, East El Cajon. He flew over Alpine and came back around. And that's the family we all gathered together by the wing. And that was for Father's Day. Look at his face. You can see that was a real special time, so I wanted to include that and show that was one of his big deals. Now, I want to talk about Mom. Dad was in law enforcement, so consequently, and Ken, you don't see too much of him. Matter of fact, he was gone, especially in homicide, they were gone all the time. So Mom was the rock of our family. She took care of us, raised us, took us places, did all the different things. So her hobbies throughout the year was running. She loved to run, she loved to walk, she loved to hike. Mainly walk Crest. They lived in Crest. She walked that thing every morning, 5 miles, I believe, every single day. Dog bites, you name it, the whole thing went on, but it was really good. And so another thing she did, she loved curves. Now we had a curves here in Alpine at one time. And that's her 2,000th visit shirt to Curves. And she can crochet. And you see her great-granddaughters, Macy and Michaela there, and Charlotte on the lower picture. She made them all outfits. And her pride, if you talk to her now, which I'm sorry she couldn't be here, but she's 91 and she's kind of frail, so didn't want to be around a lot of public. She had her allergic to vaccination. So, in 1991, she won the hog calling challenge at the Del Mar Fair. Now, my mom was very petite, very small, and but she could call a pig like there was no one else. So it was really that was a really good thing. But she meant so much to the four of us, and she was our rock. And she took good. She raised us and got us to church and took good care of us. It was really amazing. Okay. Here's our 50th wedding anniversary. Nice pictures of them there. And their 60th. That was all of the group together at my little sister's house there. It was a good time. And the 60th, on their 60th anniversary. it was a great time. Okay? And here she is today, 91 years young, and there are the 4 of us kids sitting around her in her house in Crest. And she tries to spank me still. We have, she's doing really, really good. She loves being at home, and we, of course, we all love being with her. Okay. So, the last circus ring. Did I figure something? I'm good. Here I am with my beautiful wife, and okay. Oh. That's me, and it's hard to believe is what I look like now. I could look like that. That was me in Alpine. Here we are again in Alpine. My young years. I love that shirt. Remember that? Surprised. I look surprised at something there. Tired. Okay. And Christmases in Alpine. My grandfather drove for Hostess Cake Company and Hostess donuts and pies and all that, part of the Wonder Bread. So, of course, he gave me a Wonder Bread truck for Christmas. And there is the one school picture that we were able to find, 1958-59. That I believe it's my kindergarten picture. I don't think it's my first grade. Might have been my first grade, but I think it was 52, so I was at 7, 8, 6. So it would have been, yeah. First grade. Yeah, first grade. Okay, that was my now. So Betty Nichols' house. The reason I have that there, as all you know, is our museum. I lived in that house for 2 years. In 1972, I came back to Alpine, and I rented that house for a whopping $60 a month. And I had now I was a good boy, good kids, as you saw if you've heard of the whole story. And I had lots of friends, and we had lots of fun times there. At one time, the walls were so thin in the back that you could throw a dart through it. I don't know how that is true. I know when you pulled the dart out, there was sunlight. I don't remember. I don't know. It wasn't me. But we lived there until 1974. And in 2002, my amazing wife Carmen, her 3 sons, and my 3 kids, we became one. And so that's our picture in 2002. And then Nick, right there, the littlest one in the middle. Stand up, son. He's 2 years old. And then Johnny, the little one in between Carmen and Brenda. Johnny? No, stand up. All right. So a little time has passed. So, but that was an amazing time. Amazing thing. Okay. And Jerry, what? Did I say that? We see it. Oh, back up. I know he didn't want me to. My son Jerry, right there between Jeff, the oldest. Thanks, Jeff. You got to stand the others? You did. All right. I'm sorry. Thank you. I apologize for that. I know Jerry's going to get mad at me later, but. All right, this was the last Thanksgiving, and we had a family touch football game, and it was incredible time. That's the family there. I had a chance to tackle Carmen on the field. It was fun, and it was good. It was a great time. Okay, let me remember this. Albertson's Food and Drug coming to town. Well, years before, I would go to these meetings in Fullerton, and there was a sign, future stores, and it said Alpine. Of course, my home. I wanted that store so bad. So I was campaigning for that store all the time. So when they started the construction, I was the store director of the store downtown San Diego. We just opened that store in 2006. So they started in the building, and of course I campaigned very hard, and they didn't give me the store. In 2006 we came up here. Of course, the store wasn't built until 2008. But I wanted to get the community used to the idea of having an Albertsons in the neighborhood and what a benefit that would be. So we did a lot of community events in 2006, 2007. There's a few of them right there. Alpine, Relay for Life, an evening with the elected representatives were at Viejas. Of course, historical days in 2007. There's my dad standing there in the doorway of the Nichols house. And of course, there's the rest of the events through the museum. One of my favorites was the essay contest, I think in the center. And then of course on the right was, it's got the semi and my old Dodge pickup is in Viejas Days Parade. And that's Nick, Johnny, and Anna right there in the picture also. Okay. Construction begins. That'll be August 3rd, 2006. And as you see, they had to blast that mountain. And was anybody here during that time? Remember? Was it something else? I mean, was it loud? You could hear it? Yeah? You hear it go? So there's a good friend of mine, Matt. He was a construction supervisor there in that picture of the historic building. And of course, there was on the fence you saw the drawing of what it was going to look, supposed to look like, and then of course there's a shot of the store with the grand opening. What an incredible time this was when we had our grand opening day. On the left, family that lived behind the store, those three kids you see me with there in the picture, they would come down every day and want to look inside the store. And they asked me the day before, they said if they could find a place to sleep on the sidewalk. You don't have to. Why? We want to be your first customers. So I said, even better than that, you'll cut the ribbon with me. So I invited them to the store. They came in early. We got there, and they got to help me cut the ribbon when we opened the store. And then, of course, down below, they were the first three through the check stand. And I had the dollar that they stole. I gave the dollar that they spent up on the wall the whole time I was a manager of the store. And then on the right, remember the snow? The snowstorm we had just prior to that, February 20th, 2008. And we were out in the parking lot throwing snowballs. So that was a great time. And so the things we did when the store opened, chili cook-off, can't shoot in hell. Doug Benson and I, and then you see another shot, we won the chili cook-off twice. So we had a wonderful time doing that. I've always been one that believed in the community, and those of you who don't know that that's how I wanted to make the store grow. There's the first Albertson Community Fair. Those of you who attended that. And of course on the right, you can see some of the booths and some of the groups in Alpine that came to be a part of that. We had them for quite a few years. And they were pretty successful. They had a great time. And then some of the great times of Alpine's was we had Alpine's Got Talent. Anybody remember that? We had that community center. And then, oh my goodness, how many remember me the store going bagless?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, those who remember that, what a nightmare. I was the only one in San Diego County for Albertsons to do a test to go bagless. So I turned it into a contest. We had all the schools, including Acumba, Campo, all the rest of the schools, if they collect plastic bags and bring them in, I would guarantee them one of those recycled bag benches for each of their school. So we collected 89,000 bags from all the schools. And no, I didn't count them all, but I had somebody. They counted them all, and then we had the big celebration at the store and the benches, and I loaded them in my old Dodge truck, and I drove to each school and I delivered all those benches for the recycling. Okay. This was a special time. Alpine girls softball, they were in the Guinness Book of World Records for softball game continuous, and they won. And the Albertsons team actually won. And what really made it special for me was they didn't have to. They didn't ask me. They didn't ask me to sponsor it. They didn't ask me to do anything. They went in on their own, had the shirts made, said Albertsons Alpine, and then Al Sporting Goods, I believe, was the other team. And then the Albertsons team won. The girls were amazing. Went down and watched them. I can't remember how many hours they played, but it was quite a special time.
38 hours.
How many? 38 hours straight. Okay, good. Nightmare on Alpine Boulevard. Who remembers that? Power Link. On the right. 2011. I believe that was took the community over, to say the least. My business went down 45%, and it was a long one. I'm not going to relive it, but we all remember that. And then on the right, hallelujah! After 45 years, I retired from Albertsons. Those are my granddaughters there in the picture. So I had a nice in November of 2014. Oh, I came back. So Albertsons, being the corporate giant that it was, things were extremely difficult, 7-day-a-week type of job. And when I met the family that opened the Barons, they were impressed with me, and I was very impressed with them. So I retired from Albertsons. In November, December, I started at Barons. And was the manager there at the store, Little Barons Market, and had just an amazing time from 2014, 2019. And there I was raising money for honorary mayor. I won it at Albertsons, and I won it at, I don't know if I won it or that I was chosen. But yeah, it was a good time. Now, those events, Winter Festival, Snow Festival, that was at our Barons parking lot one year. Incredible crowd turnout. We were painting rocks underneath there. Okay. Farmers Market. This was a really great time I had with each of the schools. I went to all the schools, taught the kids about organic produce, taught the kids about how to eat healthy. Each of the kids had a little bit of paper money, and they would go through and buy produce, and they took the produce home. And they had their own little farmers market at every single school. So it was a great time with all the kids. There, and then another thing that made it even more fun is, there's me and one of my clerks over there. We delivered plants. We built the organic garden boxes for each school. And put them in, supplied them with everything, and put the plants in. And so I just had an amazing time. That was just fantastic of the kids. Okay. And there is all the kids planting, and each class came out in groups, and each one had a box, and they would sit there and put all their plants in. We put the watering system in, and we did all of those things. And the kids just had an amazing time learning about produce and things like that. Okay, with that one I'm going to end. That's the museum, which I am now a board member. And guess what? I'm back. So I just want you to know that we, Corinne?
Yes?
We've come up with this new program, and I want to kind of end this, my little talk with is about what's your story? So many of you here, just seeing you again, all of you have incredible stories of your time in Alpine. And also your time wherever you might have come from to get to Alpine, or where you're going, how long you've been here. So if we think about it, in the night, this book, the book that you too can buy, was in 1971. There's little or nothing recorded for the last 50 years. Now think about how much history has gone on in our community, in our area, in your family, in the last 50 years. And I tell you what, no, you don't have to come here and stand up here and do this. But it'd be great if you did, because I'm sure there's some real exciting stories. So we're going to launch this little thing. We've got a sign up deal. It's called What's Your Story? Put your name down, put your phone number down. We'll give you a call. We'll set up a time, and you can tell a story. You could be in the Tatter Tidbits. You could be doing a presentation. You could be part of part. We want to bring Alpine back up to 2021 because there's so many great people that live here, that have been living here for the last 50 years, 10 years, 5 years, that have amazing stories. And we'd all love to hear from you. Okay?